Good day to you all. I hope you are ready for a brand new series. Welcome to Railways of the Porterverse. This series will be a spiritual sequel to Northwestern predecessors, in the sense that it will cover various railways within my personal EU. Except this time, the railways being covered will exist after 1923, basically after the Northwestern Railway was created. And this series differs from the last series in the sense that it will not be covered chronologically, instead be more episodic and bounce around the timeline. And I figured why not kick off this series with a railway I've been wanting to cover for a long time now. We're going to be covering the Ulfstead Castle Railway. This is a heritage railway in my AU that started in 1974 and still operates present day. Without further ado, let's dive into the history and later the locomotives of the Ulfstead Castle Railway. The railway's beginnings date back all the way to 1969, just after the MWR-BR separation. A large plot of land that encompassed the ruins of Ulfstead Castle had recently gone up for sale. In this run of time, a young Sir Robert Normanby II comes to play in the story. His lifelong dream was to own a railway of his own one day. And on the very day that this plot of land went up for sale, he immediately bought it and took the opportunity. And he later hired a team of concept artists and architects to design a track plan that will incorporate the soon-to-be restored castle grounds and a little bit outside of it as well. And of course, the plans for such a massive project came with a very hefty price tag, especially for the time. Sir Robert knew that even with his inherited wealth, he would not be able to fully cover the costs of operation or construction alone. And so he sought different means. He approached the Northwestern Railway and struck up a deal where the NWR will take a 30% ownership of the UCR and 30% of its annual income, and it will also carry the major overhaul services for their engines. And while the UCR will cover the remaining 70% of ownership and income and cover the standard maintenance. And now that this deal was secured in mid-1969, construction could finally begin. And now it was time to find locomotives. In 1969, just weeks after the deal was made, Sir Robert found and purchased Glynn and Stanley respectively from the previous owners to help build the railway. And Glynn became the number 1 of the UCR while Stanley became number 2. As progress progressed into 1972, the Earl traveled to the United States and acquired 2 older rundown steam engines. These being a 462 Pacific named Caitlin and a former New York Central Hudson known as Connor. And both will be heavily modified for the UCR. In between 1972 and 74, more engines such as Neil, Bluebell, Stephen, among others, will be purchased for this railway. And finally, on June 6, 1974, the Ulfstead Castle Railway opened to very heavy fanfare, with many Northwestern engines present for this opening. And this success beginning was not only to be the first success wave for the railway, as much more was to come in the following years. The Ulfstead Castle Railway would thrive in its original condition until around 1979, when the announcement of an expansion would take place. This new extension would encompass the nearby abandoned town of Great Waterton, which was essentially a stone toss away from Ulfstead Castle. And the town will be renovated partially to become a historical site and tourist attraction. And the land in between Ulfstead Castle and Great Waterton will lie a Dinosaur Park. This Dinosaur Park will be a stationing area for a few of the new engines set to enter service in the near future. A narrow gauge line will also be added in this expansion. The selected opening date for this new expansion was around 1984, and construction began in 1979. And during the 5 years of construction, many new engines were bought during the initial construction and entered service alongside some new faces. In 1979, Duke and Midley would join the Ulfstead Castle Railway's engine roster for the narrow gauge section. On September 10th, 1984, the expansion to Great Waterton and the newly built Dinosaur Park officially opened to the public. And like the first opening phase, this expansion opened to much heavy fanfare and was also a major success. This expansion to Great Waterton and the newly built Dinosaur Park will be the last major expansion of its type for the Ulfstead Castle Railway. But there was a string of smaller events that occurred since then. Just a quick update, I'm going on a trip next week that will basically span the entirety of that week, so I won't have any time to work on a video during that week, sadly. So that album for that Sunday will be a marathon. But don't worry, we'll be back to regular programming on June 11th. Thank you all very, very, very much for watching this episode of Rebels of the Porterverse, and I'll see you all in the next one.